Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. Last night, live from Madison Square Garden, the WWE gave us Super Smackdown, and I was there. I was in attendance. I wasn't that far from the ring, and I had a really solid, really great time because the show had a fantastic opening segment. It had a really great way to finish things off and leave everybody happy at the end of the show, and it also had a fantastic match smack dab in the middle. But all of those things and being in Madison Square Garden and everything special that you could think about this show does not save it from the dreaded poop hammers that will fall upon Super Smackdown, because everything else, aside from the highlights of this show, was your same old, typical suck down kind of stuff. And we are going to talk about all of that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Smackdown Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
So today is September the 11th. It is the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on America that changed the very foundation of the way we live. Since that day, everything has been tremendously different for each and every single person that is alive on this planet. It's a day that will never be forgotten, and on this 20th year to remember, to be in Manhattan, to be in Madison Square Garden, to be with the WWE, who were the first people to have a public gathering after the attack, to have the show open up with Lillian Garcia singing the national anthem. It was goosebump inducing. It brought tears to my eyes just to be able to feel that moment and to be around 15,000 other New Yorkers as we remember and somewhat celebrate the lives of the people that we lost by doing what we do. And that's getting together, being free to express ourselves and have a good time. And we did just that. And that's the one magical thing about professional wrestling. Maybe even all of pro sports, but more so I think in wrestling than anything else. You have all of these people from all walks of life, all types of religions and races and nationalities and cultures and colors and disabilities and sexualities, and you all are in this arena together, and nobody gives a shit about any of that. We're all just having a good time as one, as the WWE Universe, and that's something that's very powerful, especially on a day like today. It's a day that, had it gone a little bit differently, yours truly wouldn't even be sitting here. So it's very meaningful that we take a minute here and just realize, the importance of this day, which we will never forget. And we pay tribute and respects to all of those who lost their lives, first responders, civilians, brothers, sisters, fathers, daughters, mothers, that all lost their lives that day. So the best thing we could do to honor them is to do what we did last night, and to do what we continue to do every day. Now that the pandemic is finally subsiding to the point where we can all get together. And I thought that was a very great way to open the show. This is stuff that you guys probably didn't get to see. I don't think they opened the show for you guys at home with Lillian singing the national anthem, but it was a very special moment, and it set the tone for the night. Got everybody kicked off with some USA chants, and it really set the tone for the rest of the show, which was great. It had moments of greatness. And I don't know if it was just elevated in my blood because we were sitting in Madison Square Garden once again. watching live things unfold, it has a much better feeling watching the show live, I'll tell you that much, but it also is very fucking awkward. It's very awkward being at a television taping live because things happen like, Shinsuke Nakamura starts his entrance and Boogs is there and they're doing their whole thing and the crowd was wild and we were all singing and we were, whoa, doing the whole Shinsuke thing. And then all of a sudden the whole arena just goes dark and silent and we hit commercial break. And then we have to come back from commercial break. And it's weird because, everybody froze. Shinsuke and Boogs, froze in place. The people in the ring froze in place. And it just continued to show the commercials to you guys at home. But on screen, we're just sitting at the arena. We're just sitting there in the dark. And we're waiting. And then we come back, I guess, from commercial. And then you know how WWE likes to do a segment while we're in the middle of an entrance or we're getting ready for a match, and we come back from commercial, and I forget what segment it was. I think it might have been Paul Heyman walking around in the back, and all this time everybody's just standing around, and now the crowd's energy on that entrance for Shinsuke was just sucked out. And then all of a sudden, the lights just go back on, and the music goes back on, and Boog starts playing again, and we all got to be like, oh, yeah, right, whoa. Meanwhile, we were all up and bumping and doing it, and then you cut to commercial, and you suck the life out of the crowd, and then we all, sat down, and then you come back to the show live, and it's just not the same energy that was there. And I wish the WWE would stop doing that shit. Do your segment, go to commercial, and then come back and show the entrance. It's not that hard. You got to go back to commercial, let the entrance play out. Let Nakamura hit the ring so everything finishes out, and then come back to the show later. It's very awkward, and it happened multiple times, and it's just a shit way to produce your show. There's got to be a better way to do this, an easier way to do it, and they need to figure it out. So let's talk about the show itself. Okay, we've gone on different tangents already, and if you're still with me, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and don't forget, if you love this channel, to hit that subscribe button and then like and share this video because it really helps us in the algorithm and all that YouTube nonsense that you guys don't give a shit about. I know. But, I got to ask, because if I don't ask, we don't grow. And if we don't grow, we don't make money. And if we don't make money, we ain't doing our job right. Let's talk about SmackDown. SmackDown kicked off with the Tribal Chief. And the Tribal Chief got a fantastic reaction from the crowd. A mixed reaction, but I would say maybe more in favor of the Tribal Chief. Lots of people were chanting for Roman Reigns. Big Roman chants in the Garden all night long. And this would boil down to Roman Reigns pretty much saying nobody's in his league, and that would bring out Brock Lesnar, which brought Madison Square Garden to its knees. The building and the foundation itself was shaking when Brock's music hit. The back and forth exchange between Brock and Paul Heyman was very interesting. Heyman was very nervous and was just saying to Brock, you could challenge for any title you want. Why do you have to challenge for this one? And Brock was like, well, let me ask you a question, Paul. Why didn't you tell Roman I was going to be at SummerSlam? And the crowd was like, oh, and then we broke into a whole "you fucked up" chant, and we were getting on Paul Heyman's balls. It was really great. And this seemed to set off something in Roman Reigns. He was not very happy about it, and he left Paul Heyman in the ring as he and the Usos just turned around and bolted out of there. Brock Lesnar then was standing there looking at Paul Heyman like he's lunch, and the crowd was egging him on. We were chanting for Suplex City, but that would turn into a great series of events. Heyman was picked up by Lesnar for the F5, but then Roman came in, saved him with a Superman punch. Lesnar then find himself in the position to F5 the Universal Champion, who was then saved by the Usos, who hit him with double super kicks. Lesnar dropped Roman, but he didn't go down, and then the Bloodline would tuck tail and run, escaping up the ramp, leaving Paul Heyman once again to end up getting F5'd. I don't know if you guys saw that part. I don't know if we went to commercial or not, but Paul Heyman did get an F5 when this was all said and done. It was great. The crowd went nuts. We were off and running. Then we have SmackDown doing SmackDown things, and we had a 10-man tag team match, which I didn't need, I didn't care for, I didn't really get into, because you already knew what this match was going to be, and it was exactly that. We had a bunch of tag teams, and we had the Intercontinental Champion, and we had the Money in the Bank contract winner, Big E, and everybody was in this useless match that did absolutely nothing. Everybody got to hit their special, and then in the end, King Nakamura, Boogs, Rey and Dominic Mysterio, and Big E get the win. The biggest thing about this match was not even the match. It was actually, and I don't say this very often when we talk about the WWE, but this was actually a masterstroke of brilliance. Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks was brought in as a special guest by Sami Zayn because he knows something about winning in Madison Square Garden. The amount of knives that he was throwing in the backs of the fans just by having this guy there, and then saying what he said about knowing how to win in the Garden, it just sent the fans into a frenzy. You see, because if you know anything about professional basketball, if you're from New York City and you're a Knicks fan, you know that we found ourselves in the playoffs this year, which is something that we haven't been in quite some time, and we were just in a series with the Atlanta Hawks, which Trae Young happened to kind of shove it down our throats and took a moment to bow and kind of stick it to the crowd during Game 5 of the Eastern Conference playoffs, to which he eliminated the Knicks from contention and did so in a very smug and arrogant fashion. So this was brilliant for us in New York. If you're booking Madison Square Garden and you do something like this, this is brilliant. This isn't like bringing in Bad Bunny out of nowhere, even though that turned out to be better than we all expected. This was a brilliant thing to do. It was an immediate heat generator. It did distract a little bit from the match as the crowd just was all over Trae Young throughout the entirety of his stay out there. But the referee did eject him, which made the crowd pop huge, and it was a great moment. This was geniusly booked for Madison Square Garden. To do it on TV, maybe not so, like, this felt like a house show kind of moment, something that should have been private and specific to the New York audience, because unless you're really following the NBA or you're a fan of the Knicks or the Hawks, you don't know why this is special. So you might even be looking at me talking about, oh my God, I thought you were going to drop a poop hammer on this. And I'm dropping a poop hammer on the match because the match was your typical 10-man match. But the Trae Young involvement and the whole thought process behind him being there at Madison Square Garden, fucking brilliant. Brilliant. And Sami Zayn came out in a Knicks jersey. It was very, very brilliant heel maneuvers. And that doesn't happen very often. It's a shame that it was wasted and attached to a meaningless 10-man match. And I guess you could say it was fun, but I really didn't care. Even sitting there live, I was just waiting for this match to end so we could see what was going to happen next. After the match, Big E was interviewed in the ring. He held up the Money in the Bank briefcase. He said tonight might be the last time they see him on SmackDown because he might decide to go to Raw. It doesn't matter if it's Reigns or Bobby Lashley. So he's teasing maybe leaving SmackDown and joining back up with the New Day and setting his sights rather on Bobby Lashley, which I'm all right with. I don't see Randy Orton beating Bobby Lashley. He shouldn't beat Bobby Lashley. And if anybody's going to do it, give it to Big E. It'll be a big moment for him to unseat Bobby after this pretty impressive reign he's had as the WWE champion. We then moved on to the Contract signing. This was another one of those moments where Bianca Belair came out and we were all into it. I'm on my own, but against the wall, and we're doing the whole thing in the crowd. I never needed you at all. Dead, silent, black, cut, commercial, cut. Crowd, stop being happy, stop being full of energy. Everybody just hold that thought for a second. We got to run some ads, and then we're going to play, the replay package to show you, how we got to this moment with Becky and blah, blah, blah. And then we have to come back, and all of a sudden the music's on again. And then we have to be like, oh, yeah, that's right, we were doing this. It's awkward. It's weird. But the contract signing turned out a little bit better than I anticipated it. We all know that these things usually, boil down into some sort of fisticuffs and altercations. Somebody's going to flip a table and there's going to be a brawl when it's over, or somebody's not going to sign the contract, and, all the typical things WWE do. But they played Becky's role a lot more in a heel manner here. I like that she came out in one of the Seth Rollins inspired big pompous ass coats, and she's calling herself, what the hell did she say? I forgot what it was. Becky. Oh man. See, that's the problem with sometimes watching live, is you forget some things. And I didn't have a notepad to remember what it is she said, but she's got a new little nickname for herself. Very heelish. And I was into it. I think it might work if she continues to play this card. The fans were getting on her because we were all supporting Bianca. Lots of EST chants. And Becky's like, I left my baby girl to come back because you guys were chanting for Becky, and this is what I get. And then Becky was like, playing that she wasn't gonna sign the contract, and then the fans started to chant, just sign it, and we're going, sign it, sign it, sign it. Finally, she signed the contract, she threw it at Bianca Belair, and then held up the title belt and walked out. Bianca Belair caught the contract. She didn't get hit with the contract and act all hurt or whatever, and this was a solid contract signing, and there was nothing really wrong with it. We then see Shotzi and Noxie in the back. I don't know what the fuck they said. The audio for all of the backstage segments were terrible. I couldn't hear what anybody was saying. Apparently, they were driving by Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman said that Roman Reigns wants to watch the Usos retain their titles later tonight, and he's going to deal with Brock Lesnar later. To which case, Big E then just showed up and held the briefcase in Paulie's face, not saying a word, and I guess that happened, and we move on. They announced that Monday night on Raw, we're going to see Lashley versus Randy Orton, and then we went into the best match of the night, and being there live for Seth Rollins versus Edge was just really, really something I needed. This match really got the crowd into it. We were 50-50 Edge fans, Rollins fans, and this match was beautiful. It's almost as if Edge is wrestling a younger version of himself, which is the story that they've been trying to tell here, that Seth Rollins is very much a mirror of Edge in all of his accomplishments and in style, and everything he has done, he's done just a little bit better than Edge. Edge has accomplished everything Seth has, but not to the great heights that Seth apparently has done. And it was such a beautiful match. Back and forth offense, not a lot of laying around. There was one small botch towards the end. I have to call him out on it, but Seth Rollins tried to go for a glam slam, didn't really execute it all that well. Knew he didn't do it well, so he went and followed up and did it a second time. Edge was fantastic in this match. Looks like he didn't age a day. Definitely earned the "you still got it" chance that he received last night. I don't think I've ever been in a crowd where I was able to say something like that either. I think that's the first time I've ever chanted "you still got it" live. It's how long it's been since anybody from the old days has wrestled that I have gone to see. This was great, and the final segment was great. Lots of back and forth submission maneuvers before Seth Rollins finally just took over, giving 3 super kicks to the face to Edge, leading to the curb stomp for a really impressive win here. This match was about 25 minutes long. It was fantastic. I enjoyed every single minute of it. We had EMTs run out at the end to check on Edge, and he loaded him in the back of an ambulance. Seth Rollins and Edge probably still has a lot to go, and we're probably just getting started here unless they move on to something else. I guess Seth Rollins has beaten Edge a couple of times now, right? So he could just move on to the championship situation. Maybe. Who knows what their plans are. Probably won't make sense. Maybe they're just getting ready to reset with the draft supposedly incoming, and Edge maybe could be drafted to Raw. Seth might stay on SmackDown. There's lots of maybes, lots of mights. We could speculate here for 3 days about what might happen. But what did happen was a really great match. Kudos to both men. This was really fun, and I was really glad I was in attendance for this. We then went into the main event match of the evening, which was the Street Profits taking on the Usos. Now, I did not enjoy this match. I didn't enjoy this match. I don't know why, to be honest with you. It felt kind of slow. Their chemistry looked to be a bit off, and I wasn't the only one in the crowd to have noticed it. I think the fans that were much closer were kind of, I think, getting on the Street Profits for whatever reason, and Montez Ford spent most of the match on the apron playing with his ass just to tease the crowd or to just play with the crowd. Or I don't know. So if you heard a lot of crowd noise, it was because Montez Ford was playing with his butt cheeks and rubbing his butt and squeezing his butthole like Ace Ventura. I don't know what was going on with him, but he was having a good old time messing with the crowd. I was laughing mainly because there was a mother in front of me who didn't appreciate all of this being done with her little son. Maybe couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7 years old. He was laughing. He thought it was fucking hysterical, as little kids would, because it's childish and juvenile. And the mother didn't seem to think it was all that funny or appropriate. Now, you can't worry about things like that, but I found it amusing. It's not in a good way, though, because I was more concerned about that than I was concerned about what was going on inside the ring. The Usos, for some reason, were doing a lot of hugging with each other at the beginning, really just playing like standoff with the Street Profits. The match picked up towards the end. Montez Ford, again with a very impressive twisting frog splash, got them close to the win, but Roman Reigns would interfere, breaking up the 3 count, causing the disqualification, which was kind of lame. Another DQ finish. But all of this led to Roman picking up the mic to address and accept Brock Lesnar's challenge, and he said he's going to smash Brock Lesnar after he finishes smashing Finn Balor at Extreme Rules. When the lights went out, turned red, and out came the Demon to a tremendous ovation, and I was swept up into it too. We all did the Finn Balor, whoa, and we were all happy to see the Demon back. He looked great, good makeup job, really, really great to see this again. Felt good to be there to experience it live, all good. However, does the Demon matter anymore? Like, Finn Balor pulls out the Demon when Finn Balor is not good enough, but has the Demon ever really brought him anything great since that first Universal Championship victory? Didn't they kill the Demon in most people's eyes? Isn't that why he went to NXT? Because the whole Demon thing was dead. I understand trying to maybe do a rebirth, or a relaunch, but you're bringing back the Demon to feed him to Roman, because Roman's going to stay the champ until he gets to Brock at the very least. That's the money match. No way Finn Balor's going to beat him, Demon or no Demon. So you've essentially brought back this character to make him lose to the Tribal Chief which is going to give him no value in the main event scene going forward. And who's going to be scared of the Demon? You know what I mean? Like, you're bringing him back with no clear plan on how to make this a good thing for Finn Balor. It's great in the moment. You got the huge pop. The fans are going to be all into it. I'm sure you got some merch lined up that you're going to sell. Some new Demon-inspired merchandise. But at the end of the day, he's going to lose to Roman. And then what do you do? It's just the same shit. So I understand the excitement for seeing this act. It's almost like nostalgia at this point, because Finn Balor was so far beyond that as the Prince. But now the Prince can't stand up to the Tribal Chief. The Demon definitely ain't going to get the job done, because Roman's got the Beast in his sights. So it's almost, with these two things happening at once, you're making the Finn Balor match mean absolutely nothing. Because all anybody wants is to see Brock versus Roman. And now everybody knows Roman's not going to lose. So the whole entire thing with Finn Balor ends up being completely meaningless. But this was a very fun SmackDown. Maybe more so for me because I was there live. Maybe if you guys watched at home, it didn't come across the same. Maybe it was a little bit worse for you. Let me know what you thought of tonight's SmackDown in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. I still have to go back and watch the television broadcast of it because I want to see if I could spot myself on camera. They obviously didn't get my sign because my family didn't see me. I made this great fucking sign and they didn't care enough to catch me on camera with it. But whatever, it is what it is. That happens. I've been to friggin' dozens of WWE events, and I very rarely, if ever, get on camera. There was one time way back, early in the Attitude Era, I was really close to the ring thanks to a friend of mine who had a cousin who worked security at the Nassau Coliseum, and I made a Raw is Jericho sign, and right at the start of the show, I ended up getting zoomed in on real nice. But, man, I wish I could find that clip because that would be amazing to be able to show you guys that. But it did actually happen only once. Only once. It's not impossible, just highly unlikely. But I'm still going to go back and watch it to see how it came across on TV, because being there live is a completely different experience. We had dark matches which made no fucking sense. No sense at all. I'm going to talk more about those tonight on Sledgehammer Saturday Night, because we're going to go live tonight and talk about this week's events, some of the news that we've been talking about, and mostly what you didn't see last night that I had to see, which didn't make me a very happy guy. And I'll explain later, so make sure you're here to tune in. The best way to not miss that is to be sure that you are subscribed with the notification bell on so that you know immediately when I am live on YouTube or whenever we drop the hammer down on one of Vince McMahon's piece of crap shows. I wouldn't call this a piece of crap show. Definitely like maybe a 3 out of 5, maybe. If we're doing ratings, I'd go maybe 3 out of 5. Solid, middle of the line effort. A little bit better because it was an MSG show. At least they took a little bit of time to care. However, before we sign off, I will say I'm tremendously disappointed that we didn't really see Zelina Vega. Now, I know she's not really a big deal to most people, but when you factor in that she's from New York, and this is their first show back at Madison Square Garden, and her father was a first responder who lost his life in 9/11, don't you think it would have been a little poignant to have her on this fucking show? They didn't have any women's action on this show other than the contract signing, and normally I wouldn't really care because what are we gonna get, Carmella versus Liv Morgan or some stupid shit like that? But you have Naomi, who's still yet to debut. This would have been a great night to have her first match, even if it was just a dark match segment, but we didn't get that. Same for Zelina Vega. Could have gave her a little hometown moment, a little props, but no. WWE hates their employees as much as they hate us fans, and it's obvious. And I don't like comparing the two, but look at Dynamite, man. Last night's Dynamite was in Cincinnati, and it ended the show with Brian Pillman Jr., who was born and raised in Cincinnati, and John Moxley, who's also a Cincinnati guy. Two hometown guys closing out the main event segment of AEW Rampage. And here we are with SmackDown nationwide, live from the Garden, and they couldn't have a segment for one of their hometown people. Somebody from New York. Anybody. No. That's just a little personal gripe. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'll talk about that a little bit more tonight on the Sledgehammer Saturday Night Live show. Make sure you're here. I'll miss you if you're not. It'll be terrible without you. So make sure you're there. Thank you guys all so very much. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team. Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Yeti microphone. The most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. If you missed anything that we put up, it'll be linked in the annotations up above. And I hope to see you later for Saturday Night Sledgehammer. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.
Thanks, Vince.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.